All right, we're recording. We're here with the Badass Branding Blab.
Hello, everybody. I know. Welcome to the Badass Branding Blab that's working 2 weeks in a row. Yay! Insert applause. Today we are talking with the amazing Bailey. And how do you say your last name? Is it Richard?
Yeah, it's Richard. Yep.
I'm a name butcher, and I wasn't sure about that one.
Okay. I always get Riker. It's not a problem.
Yeah, you're same thing with me. You just answer to whatever is called, right?
Exactly.
A little bit begrudgingly sometimes. So she's putting on a summit. What's the name of the summit?
The Infopreneur Summit.
Yes, cool. I'm so excited. I'm part of it.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Starting July 31st.
Yes, I got a coveted invite. We're going to be recording this week. So how many badasses do you have? 10?
No, we have 24 people.
Wow.
And there's a couple people that I'm like in talks with because I'm being very selective about who gets to participate because I don't want I only want practical, like actionable advice. So if you're coming at me with the like motivation stuff, it's like that's great and important, but not on this summit. And then also I only have one speaker per topic. So I don't want there to be like any competition between speakers, fighting over like who's going to talk about what just like fighting for the attention of the audience. And so it's only like one speaker per thing. And so now I'm at the point where like some people are approaching me about being on the summit and I'm like, only if you pitch me like an amazing, like unique idea that isn't already being covered.
Yep, I love it. That's why I love her, because she is a no bullshit, but she's fantastic. You know what I mean? Like she's just get her done, but she's not like so stuff informal. You're like, dude, what the fuck? Have a little fun with it. So I love Bailey. So yes, this summit is going to be amazing. I can't wait for it. I'm going to be devouring everything right there with everybody. So
very fun.
Where can people go to opt in for that? I just want them to know right ahead.
Put the link in.
Yeah, they can go to infopreneursummit.com. But Dre, I'm going to be sending you info this week about your affiliate link. So if you want to promote, you can promote with that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Can I put that in the chat? Can I put the Infopreneur Summit?
Infopreneursummit.com.
I'm going to be sharing it all over the place.
Now I have to spell things. Infopreneur. So how do you define infopreneur?
So an infopreneur to me is somebody who leverages the information they already know. So life experience, knowledge, and passions in order to create a business, primarily creating informational type products, which I think these days is mostly digital ebooks and online courses, but it definitely doesn't have to be. That could also include speaking, workshops, retreats, things like that.
And coaching, right? Like I think a lot of coaches see themselves. So I think of like infopreneur as kind of like freelance. Like it doesn't necessarily have to do with one industry or one business model, but it is around kind of monetizing your expertise.
It is definitely about monetizing your expertise, and it doesn't necessarily have, like, there's no one particular industry. I know infopreneurs that are business coaches like we are, or branding experts like you. But, I know infopreneurs who are like fitness coaches or relationship experts or travel experts like I used to be. But I specifically don't associate us with like freelancing per se, because I'm really big into people creating products that they can sell over and over again. Whereas I feel like in general, freelancing is creating a specific product for a client. It's like project-based and then it's done. Whereas when I work with people, it's all about creating revenue streams like the books and the courses or, masterminds and things that can bring in, revenue again and again.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean that it was. I just meant like kind of the wraparound thing. Like it's that hierarchy thing. Because I used to think of myself as an infopreneur, but then honestly, I was more a freelancer because I took a step back and I didn't have that. So let's talk about, because there is a huge difference, right? I feel like freelance, you're selling services and you're way more chained to the income, right? It's more of the game for time for money.
It definitely is.
Yeah, that's what I've run into, why I'm transitioning the business to back more to the infopreneur side. Because, and I hate the word passive because it makes it sound like we just sit on our ass and collect the money. So if you have another word.
Residual income is often what I say.
I love that. That's going to be the new word because I hate passive. I just hate the connotation of it.
But it makes people think that there's no work involved after,
right.
you record the video for your course and you put it up and then it's done and like I can just play the rest of the day. And that's just not how it is at all.
Yeah, it's really no less work. Honestly, it's just a totally different business.
Well, you're doing
model.
it all in a little bit of time and then you
I think
keep getting
the
paid
key
for
is
it.
really scalability.
Yep.
So, it is a lot. It's just as much time to, make an amazing course and to do the continued marketing. But, after you've been in business for a while and you've really created your fantastic list and your tribe of followers, then when you launch a course, for $1,000, it only takes 100 people to make 6 figures. And that is not a lot.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Yeah.
And I have
products that I've done info products that are 2 or 3 years old and they still sell. And there was nothing sweeter than seeing that. Hey, I did that 3 years ago and I just sold one yesterday.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to talk about. I'm like, I feel like there's a lot more possibility and ways to leverage it because I do a lot of master classes and mini courses, but now I'm going, okay, well, I'm going to take some of those off and then package them up because I can package them now up as, a whole course where it was like just this little onesie twosie thing. And there's so many different ways to leverage it. And the other thing I'm seeing is that it kind of brings up your value and your ability to get out there more because you can share your products with other people like you, right? Like for the summit, it's like if I have e-products, I can piggyback on that and I can offer, the branding part of it. And there's so many ways to leverage that. That's a lot less of my time. Like Lou said, it's kind of like, it's not that it's done and then you just sell it and get to sit on your ass, but it is, opposed to freelance, I don't have to sit here for 2 hours, each time to create a logo. It's like I can teach you in 90 minutes how to create your own logo once and then be able to, service so many more people.
It's so true. And I think that's really the key. And that's why I hate passive, but I do call it residual, is because you put in all this effort to creating a product up front, like you were saying, your 90-minute course or whatever. But then really where the effort then comes in after that is the marketing and getting the word out there on different platforms and bringing in new audience members to your community. And there's so many different ways to do that by being on somebody else's summit, by being on somebody else's podcast, by writing a guest post, and that's really what you can focus on, because when you're doing those things, you're creating even more content that you can share. Then take that guest post, share it on social media, repurpose it for something else, And so it's unlike freelancing, where you create the product, it's done, and you move on. This is like, it's building. It's like a snowball effect,
Oh, no way. I love that. It's so true. And so let's go with that. So when you're building the Infopreneur business, where do you start? Is it is it where you start with getting the people in and figuring out what they want, or because I see 2 different kind of takes. I see they focus on building the community, building the list, and then they launch something. And then I see they build their list through launches because they went out with a product. So can you talk about kind of the difference and the pros and cons, or where you suggest people start?
Sure. Well, in my Infopreneur Institute course, what I teach, and in my free book on my website, what I teach is what I call my 6-step process. And so you do need to do all of that beginning kind of stuff in order to be successful that a lot of people don't. And so I'm talking about thinking about your niche, really niching down, thinking about your brand and how you want to present yourself, and thinking about, probably most importantly, your message. Like, what is it that I want to teach and what is it that I want to be known for? But once you've got that down, and I think that most of the people watching this probably have, some idea of all that stuff regarding your question of whether you should build your community or launch or whatever. Let me tell you just from my personal experience that if you have 0 audience and you launch something, you're not going to make any sales whatsoever. So there definitely is an element of building an audience before you launch a product if monetization really is your key. And so I do think that you should be generating some content and getting it out there. But that being said, I do see people that kind of they're self-sabotaging and they think I need to have 1,000 articles on my blog before I'm allowed to launch a product, or I have to have an email list of 1,000 people before I launch a product. And that's ridiculous. Don't launch a product to an email list of 0 people, but if you have an email list, of 100 or 200 people, that's still totally fine to launch a product to, if you were careful in curating a community of 200 people that really care about what you do. If it's 200 people like your mom, dad, friends and family that
don't feel sorry for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, then launching a product, you're not going to get anything. But if you have a small list, but it was because of an amazing lead magnet for this course or whatever it is that you want to launch, you can still launch and be profitable, from that. So it's kind of like a balance, and you have to make that decision for yourself. You don't want to wait 5 years until you have like a 200,000 person email list to launch. That's stupid and a waste of your time. But you do need to do some like groundwork to positioning yourself as that expert. So when people visit your website, they know who you are, what it is that you teach. Like they know they want to get involved with you.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't have to wait till it's completely perfect, because I always tell my folks, just get it out there, and done is better than perfect. And you can always create version 2.0, but don't, like you said, don't wait 5 friggin' years until
and I think that's so true that I see this happen all the time is infopreneurs will like launch a course, and then because maybe it's their first course launch, they don't know what they're doing and it doesn't really take off. And then they're just like, well, that was obviously bad. I'm going to launch like a new course. And I'm like, okay, over time you will generate a lot of revenue streams, but there's obviously like imperfections. So we need to do some work on this course to make it better. Like don't abandon work you've already done. Like we were talking about that snowball effect. Like this course is going to be on your site for a long time now. Let's make it better.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that we get in this space where, even if you had 1,000 people on your list, that's 1,000 people in this whole big world. Just because those 1,000 didn't buy doesn't mean there's 10,000 others that will. And frankly, just like everything these days, it takes time. I feel like unless you are really established and really bonded to your list, and you've already had presented offers to them, it's hard, that cold offer. You know what I mean? Like we're as a society, we're on to the landing pages, we're on to the sales funnels. Like we know what we're getting into, and we're skeptical and we're stingy, and it takes warming up. And so I think that you nailed it. People give up when it's like, it's basically like testing out an idea. Like even if you cooked a meal, right, and it's like 10 people didn't like it. Like there's restaurants all over the place. It's like, I don't like that, but I know 10 people that do. So you have to get a much bigger sense. But I will also say, and speaks to this, Bailey, like the community, I feel like they go hand in hand, because the community tells you what they want and they tell you what they think. You know what I mean? They take a lot of the guesswork out when you start communicating with your list and your community, and you start building places that you can actually talk to them. They'll tell you. And create the micro product from that. It doesn't have to be these huge courses, right? Create a masterclass or a little guide for $10, $20. Like it doesn't have to start as these big programs that have private Facebook groups and spend 6 months creating it and look really pretty and they're all dialed in. Like people don't really need that.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think that the problem, and what I see with a lot with my clients, is that they don't communicate because they want to first, and this is a terrible thing to do, but they do it anyway, is they want to put distance between themselves and their community because they want to come off as like this, Tim Ferriss, like Michael Porter, like amazing, like infopreneur, like, they like create email addresses that make it seem like they have a huge business corporation and they like make you call a 1-800 number. And I'm like, no, like you're going about it all wrong. Like you need to be down to earth. You need to be yourself. You need to let people on your email list feel like they can get in touch with you. You need to answer their emails. You need to reach out to them and ask. And I think sometimes they feel like it's weakness. Like if I ask my community what they want, like it'll make it seem like I don't know. Well, you don't know. We all don't know. And
I'm selling a course right now that I haven't created yet. And I've already sold a whole bunch of them. It's like, they're going to tell me what they want. And they're going to help me create it because, I haven't done it yet.
Well, and that's, I feel like how they really bond to you, because I mean, speaking for myself, that's relatable to me. Like, I can't relate to Tim Ferriss. I can't relate to Gary Vaynerchuk. Like, I don't, they're awesome. I love them. I respect them. It's like, exactly. It's like it's a different level to me. It's like, I don't really aspire to be that. I want to be, like you said, like, I'm a real person. I have real struggles. I have real insecurities. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm not a like end all be all in the world of marketing. Like, I know my little area and I'm learning by default so I can do things for my business that I then try to teach my peeps. But I think, but it's like, I don't know if that comes from our corporate days or it comes from like where that comes from, that need to like separate yourself or put off that vibe that you know it all or that you're better than them to feel like you're respected.
It's that like imposter syndrome, I think. Like, it's a scary thing to start a business, and the idea of failing in front of hundreds or thousands of people is like terrifying, right? Everybody wants to be the best version of themselves, and like showing that vulnerability to your audience is uncomfortable. I mean, like it's not fun to be like, I screwed up, guys, or, I created this product and nobody wanted it. And, so instead I'm going to come back to you and say, what was wrong with it? You know what I mean? Yeah. Everybody, because I think what we see out there when we see those Facebook ads, it's like, I made $20,000 in a weekend, and we're comparing ourselves to these like super successful, people, these other infopreneurs. And if we don't reach that level of success, it's like, oh, I don't want to let others see that I wasn't as successful with my launch, that it wasn't as good. But the reality is, like, being more open and honest about those kinds of things is only going to make you better at business. So I know it's like counterintuitive in people's brains, but that's what we need to do.
Yeah, the honest truth is 90% of us are not making $20,000 on launches and we're not successful. Like, that's actually the exception of these people who are out there, and drives me nuts because it is. It makes all of us feel like we have to be secret about, like, oh, we failed. Like, we did a launch, nobody bought it. Like, we're not allowed to share that. It's like, you know what, when I do, and this is like, every time I'm like, oh God, I'm all internal and like weepy and doubty and all this shit. And then I reach out to some people or I'll meet, a new influencer or something that I am convinced like, oh yeah, they must make. And then I talk to them, it's like the same damn struggles, the same ones. We're just like, we're not supposed to talk about it. And that's what I try to talk about all the time. And I will say the most engagement I get from my community and from my list is when I do shit like that, when I do confessionals and when I get really real. It's never the like, do you guys want to learn this? Or here's a new mini course. It's always the like, this happened. I want to crawl in a hole. Like, I feel like an asshole. Like, it's always that. And it's so refreshing, like, when you do see someone that does that, because that's where the realness comes in. Like, that's where the bonding, because you're like, oh, you're real. Like, oh, I can relate to your struggle. Not many of us can relate to just being like, yeah, I made $100,000 last, month because I have this passive income and you need it too. It's like, I cannot relate to that.
Yeah. And I think that too, when you are yourself and you're being vulnerable and you're doing everything you are saying, you're going to attract more ideal clients. When you're being, authentic, the buzzword, in your business, and you're using words and language and being yourself and stuff like that, you're going to attract people who resonate with you and who want to work with you because they don't feel like you're so, what's the word? Irreachable is not a word, but you know what I mean? Like you can't, exactly. You can't get at them. So like in my business, like I refuse to use any of those, like, make 20,000 in a weekend, whatever, because it's just so unrealistic. And what I do say over and over again is like, you might have come to me because you only wanted to publish an ebook or create a course, and that's fine. But if you're going to work with me, I'm telling you now that you're creating a business. Like I don't shy away from, how much work it is and what it takes and that sort of thing. And by using, that language and really standing, where I want to, and my truth about what it takes to become an infopreneur, I attract more clients like me who know what it takes and who have the motivation. And that's better for me too, because I know that they're committed, they're going to, pay for the work, and they're going to be, there through the end. So.
Yeah. I totally
And Bill,
agree.
you work with folks that are relatively new to the business as well.
Exactly. Yeah. What I call them are beginning and budding infopreneurs. So the way I define that is like a beginning infopreneur is someone who's like probably still in their 9 to 5, is like totally new to the idea, like might not even be able to define infopreneur for themselves. But budding would be somebody like who's launched a blog, but like isn't doing content marketing right, hasn't monetized, you know, has not really launched a course or is learning, or maybe they did, but it like didn't take off at all. Those are the kinds of people I work with.
Cool. That's good, because a lot of people won't, won't take on newbies and stuff like that. And the other problem is that because, like Dre said, there's so many, gurus saying, "Oh my gosh, this is the easy path to $100,000." That when they don't hit the $100,000 after their first big promotion, they're all demoralized and they don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
Like, you got to work up to that.
Exactly. And, I try to, I don't curb people's enthusiasm. Like, I really want them to be excited for their business. You have to be if you want to stick in it. But like the other day, I got an email from somebody who was like, they did the calculations. They're like, if I can get this many people over 10 years, I'll make $21 million. And I wrote them an email back and I was like, just stop. I was like, it's not going to happen. Here's why. I was like, less than 1% of your email list is going to buy, blah, 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 blah. And like, I gave them all the things and just trying to, bring them down to reality. And that's where I run my business, is like on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. And I love it. Lou, you mentioned this, and I finally tried it because I was so terrified of it. But selling the product before you create it.
Pre-selling.
And that was, pre-selling, and what do they call that? Viable,
Well, it makes you,
minimum viable product. Yeah.
It makes you do it because,
that's what I'm like,
this course is starting next Monday, so I have to do it
exactly.
now.
I'm like, this is what I do with my freelance work. It's like the only reason I get it done is because there's a fucking deadline and there's somebody waiting and there's somebody that paid already. I'm like totally motivated by that. So I'm like, and I'm dragging my feet with all these insecurities of like creating a course before. And I'm like, you know what? I just need that like sanity check. And if it doesn't sell, I won't be bummed because I didn't pour my heart into something. I didn't even create it. I didn't, I know what I'm going to do with it. But I was like, that was the coolest thing I've done yet. Like, and I want to do more of that. But you definitely have to be ready to create the product, right? I was like, oh shit. Okay. Time to get to work.
I love pre-selling.
Yeah, but I was to say that's a great way as an infopreneur, or like you said, a budding, where you have a blog and you have a community, and maybe it's only 100. I did that with my branding course that I'm releasing. I created the ebook for like just the guide that would go with it, and sold it as an ebook just to get feedback and see if there was gaps and kind of test things that I outlined it all anyway. And that was a great way. So I highly suggest like infopreneurs. It's like I said, and you said, don't wait for the perfection or wait for some big polished product to be done. Like there's so many ways to test things out and make things happen before, kind of like you said, build up to it. I think another problem is that they're newbies. They don't necessarily know. A lot of them, you said that a lot of them know their niche. I think that's a problem. I think a lot of them don't, or they have a general sense of it. Like I want to teach bloggers, or I want to teach small business owners, but it's like, what kind of small business owner? There's 50 million different kinds that you can talk to, or what's your core message or approach? Like you said, Bailey, knowing that it's like, you're no bullshit, you're not overnight millionaire, you're all about like, this is the realistic workload you're going to have. And I feel like that's a huge piece, but like I said, doing it side by side with your products, they're really hand in hand.
Well, somebody once said to me that action begets clarity. And I really just believe that is true. And, I think it's okay to pivot in your business. When you were saying a lot of people don't necessarily understand like their niche in the beginning, and that's fine. That shouldn't keep you from doing something. It's like being in business is the best way to have like a good business, because over time you're going to learn stuff about yourself, what you really like or don't like. And then you're also going to learn more about your audience, what they want, what they don't want. And it's one of those things you're constantly refining and perfecting over time. And so by taking that action, even if you fail, you're going going to learn a ton of stuff. So, okay, your course doesn't sell. Then you go back to that audience and you say, why? Like, what was it that made you not buy? Was it just too expensive? You don't need it? Was the copy not connecting with you? Whatever. And then you go back and you do it again and you perfect. I think that honestly, a lot of the newbies that I work with, though, have issues with money still. Like, they're just like afraid to take people's money if they don't have like a product yet to give them. They're like, oh, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And that's another thing that I work with my clients too. I'm like, you're a business owner now. Like, you're only going to actually be sustainable in this venture, like if you accept income. So like, take the cash.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of new folks and budding folks think that the stuff that they have in their head, like the intellectual property, isn't that valuable. But they got to realize that they have an expertise. That expertise can be monetized. You know, they can create products that people will buy.
Yeah, I've heard someone. Yeah, I heard someone say, and I think it's been said multiple times, but I can't remember who was the original person, but they said something to the effect that, you know, people don't buy from somebody who knows it all. People buy from somebody who is a step or two ahead of what they are. And that took me a long time to wrap my brain around. You know, I'm not like the end all be all, like I could be on par with Apple and stuff for branding. It's like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I have a lot more than the average person, and I'm always learning myself. But exactly, I think that we think, and here's the problem, nobody gives us permission, right? And so many other, like our careers, and especially those of us that have been in corporate, it's like you're told what to do. You're given permission when you're at a level like, oh, well, now you get a promotion, or now you're ready to have direct reports, or now, you know, you see these milestones and you're given this permission. And then when you go out on your own, nobody tells you shit, which is half the reason why we love it, right? We're like, nobody tells us anything, do whatever I want, wake up whenever I want, take a nap whenever I want. But the other problem is that nobody says like, okay, you're ready for a product. Okay, you're ready for a course. Okay, your list is big enough to talk to. Okay, you're allowed to email them twice a week. Like even just how often I email my peeps, it was like, I don't know. Is it okay that I email them more than once about something? Like I was like, all fucking so funny.
Like I've so been through that struggle about the emailing twice a week. I'm like, it's once a week is the golden rule, right? It's like, they're gonna get sick of me. They're gonna unsubscribe. It's so funny because we've all been through that struggle.
Yeah. You know what happened when I started emailing every day? I sold more stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, hello.
Well, just sending like 5 emails about a webinar. Like I would send 1 email. It's like if you didn't open it or went to spam, it's like you have no idea. But I was like, all I'm allowed to do is talk about this webinar once. And it's like just sending like 5 emails, you know, to the people that haven't subscribed. Like, oh, dude, it's went from like 100 attendees to like 400. But it's like the scary part is that nobody gives us permission for this stuff. And a lot of times, and I'm sure you run into this with your clients, I do on the branding side, a lot of times it's you giving them permission. Like you're allowed to launch this product. Like you said, like you have 100 people on your list. You built your list through a great opt-in or through a summit or something like that where you got qualified people. Go for it. But a lot of times it's really hard that nobody's telling you you're ready or you're smart enough or you know enough or this product, like pricing for info products is really tough. I want to talk a little bit about that because one person's idea of a $97 course is not another person's, right? And a lot of times it comes down to like, oh, is someone going to pay $97? Is it valuable enough? Is there enough shit in there? You know, so talk to me about pricing because that gets people hung up a lot.
Yeah.
So the main reason that people are obsessed about pricing, I think, is one with the whole permission to price a certain way. You know, am I allowed to charge this much? So the mindset thing that you were talking about. But then I also think that it genuinely comes from the variability in our industry. You know, you see e-courses from $97 to $1,000, and that's confusing for people. So I think it's that they want to be fair. They just don't know the rules and they want some guidelines. And so what I generally tell people is don't look at how much stuff is in there. Don't look at how many hours of video. You know, don't say I'm allowed to charge this much because there's 15 hours. Look at the value. Genuinely look at the value and decide whether or not you're allowed to price higher based on that. And if that's still, you know, too confusing, here's something that I say. with your online courses, which I think is like the number one info product people have trouble pricing, is that if it's an evergreen product, if it's one of those courses that's going to be open 24/7, 365, there's a reason you chose to make it that way. It's because you want to bring in new clients into this course so that they can get some sort of basic level of education in something before they move on to the higher products, whether that's a mastermind or a coaching or something. So I would generally tend to make those a little bit more accessible in pricing, especially because you want people to like buy right now. So if they attend your webinar and it's open 24/7, 365, you can't charge $1,000 if you want people to lay down their credit card in like an impulse buy kind of decision. Right. But then I think that there's those kinds of courses that we only open part of the year. So, you know, you only launch it once or twice a year and otherwise it's closed for that whole like scarcity effect. Those types of courses, what I generally say is you can price higher if you're also adding more value. So for example, I have a course about how to do high value online courses, and it's more of like a course coaching hybrid because you're getting 8 weeks of video instruction, but you're also getting 8 weeks of group coaching. And so for that reason, I feel like I'm allowed to charge more because you're getting like one-on-one time with me in those, you know, in a group setting, but you're allowed to ask me your questions and that sort of thing. And I put in tons and tons of time into those coaching sessions and also like working with people via email and stuff like that in the course and providing the superior support and value that I don't give attention to, you know, on my evergreen products where I expect people to just go through the program and then be done with it, you know? Yeah. And so I think that those are some like really good guidelines as far as pricing goes.
Yeah. And I think you nailed it too with the time. I think the more of your time you give, the more that you should charge because your time is, again, it goes back to the freelancing and you're always going to cap out. So if you're giving somebody hours of your week and you're charging, you know, $47, it's like, is that, you know, sometimes it does have to get down to how much do you have to sell to just be able to make what you need every week, right? Because like you said, at the end of the day, this is a business. And a lot of us, if you're not out on your own, that's the goal, is to leave the 9 to 5. And so you have to be realistic and know your numbers. And you can't dedicate 8 hours a week to something that you're only making like $100 a week from. So you also have to give yourself permission that your time is money and your time is valuable. And I think you're right. The more evergreen and the more hands off, the more it can be that impulse, low dollar, 97 or less. But the more of yourself you give, I'm a true believer in there's so many courses out there and I take some of them. Some of them are great, right? And I don't need the person. You devour the content and you put it in and that's great. But when I get a course where you really get to talk to the person, it's like, to me, there's so much value because it's like when you call a call center and you have to talk automated, like my number is 4, did you say 408? You're like, fuck, just put a person on the phone. Like there's such value in that human connection and that ability to have a person talk to you, especially uniquely about whatever it is that you're struggling with business wise.
Yeah. And the thing is too, like with the whole time associated, like if you charge less or if you like give a discount, for example, on like some of your coaching or something, that's money that you're losing because you could have taken on a client that'll pay full price. Yep. So like sometimes like I had a guy who runs a charity, super nice guy, contact me about getting some discounts. And I gave him a discount on one of my evergreen courses because I was like, well, the content's already created, like he wouldn't buy it at full price. So I'm only losing money like if I don't give him a discount. So that was fine. But then I said, I don't give discounts on my coaching because if I work with you, this is my time that I'm giving. I'm making less money when I could work for a client who's going to pay me full price. And so it makes no logical sense for me. This is a business. I'm not running a charity. And so
amen, sister.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of like how I handle like kind of discounts as well.
Yeah. Just because you're running a charity doesn't mean I'm running a charity.
Yeah.
But the other side of the coin is too, sometimes I'll charge more for stuff with less time because people don't want 35 modules of content. They're like, how quickly and easily can I learn this stuff? Yeah. So I'm valuing their time, but in some cases we can charge more because I'm going to get you to the result quicker.
Well, that's you just hit the nail on the head there, like about infopreneurship. Like we are not college professors. People aren't coming to us like sit in a lecture for a semester. What they're looking for is transformative results in their life. And they want to know that you can help them get the result that you've already proven that you've achieved in your own life or for another client. And they want to get there like as quickly as possible. It's one of the reasons why when people ask me to like help them with their about page, they write like their whole life story and all these like details. And I'm like, no one cares. I said, what they care about is like a simple narrative about how you went from point A to point B, and I can show you to do it too. I was like, that's a good about page.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that too, because Lou, you nailed it. I think too often we think you have to throw everything but the kitchen sink in there. And that's actually overwhelming. Like when there is a course where it's like I'm watching the pitch and they have me and then they ramble on for 45 more minutes about the shit they have, I'm like, and opposed to like when I get a course, it's like 3 modules, like maybe 4 videos each. I'm like, yes, like I can get this course done in a week. Like it's daunting to think that you have like 6 weeks, 2 months, like 100 hours. And then it's like the module plus like 18 bonuses that it's like, is it really
never get to it.
Yeah, but it's like, then there's Facebook live video, then there's this video, and then there's Facebook ads. It's like, I just wanted to learn about how to build a Facebook page. Like, I don't need all this crazy. So, so we're gonna wrap up. So, what would you say is the 3? And we're gonna go. I always love this. The 3 biggest tips that you would give to really like to be kick-ass, to make this infopreneur thing work for you. What's the 3 most important things to understand, know, or do?
Okay, 3 most important things. So let's see here. We already kind of touched upon it, but like providing tons and tons of value. So building up like your free content or providing more value in your courses, like whatever it is, if you want to be an infopreneur, you have to prove that you're like the go-to like person for this thing if they want to buy from you. And that comes from like providing tons and tons of value. So I would say that to keep that in mind, pricing, we already talked about, but it's so true. If when you run an infopreneur business, you are running a business. You can't just think about it like one product or something like that. And so you have to think like viably, you know, what can I price my stuff at? And so that I can actually make this work if I want to leave my 9 to 5. And the other tip that I have, which we really didn't talk about, is like thinking ahead regarding how you want to set up your business so that you can get the kind of lifestyle that you really want. I get a lot of people that come to me because they want to leave the cubicle that they are chained to and they want to move into like a more free lifestyle. And you can have that with infopreneurship, but you have to kind of think ahead a little bit about how you want to set up your systems and how you kind of want things to operate in order to have that kind of lifestyle down the road. And so it's really important to kind of think about that. And you didn't ask for a 4th, but kind of associated with this one though, is like understanding that that might require a little bit of investment in your business. You know, I get a lot of people who are like, I want to start an infopreneur business and I have a budget of $3. And I'm like, that you're not my ideal client then, because you have to like be willing to like buy the software that you need to get things rolling and to make your life easier down the road. So it is going to require a little bit of investment.
Absolutely.
Cool.
I love it. All right. So one more time, tell people about the summit, what it's going to be about, and where they can opt in so they know right away when it's all launched in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Infopreneur Summit, infopreneursummit.com is where you can register. You can register for free. We have 24 speakers, and that number is probably going to grow in the next couple of weeks to be a few more. It covers topics ranging from niche, message, branding, social media, revenue streams, sales funnels, selling, marketing, press. Like we have a lot of different really interesting topics that we're covering. Everybody can watch all of the interviews for free for 24 hours when they go live. And then if you miss it, we're also selling an all access pass where you can get lifetime access to a membership site that has all of the videos and the interviews in there. It's going to be packed with just tons of awesome content. So it's something you're not going to want to miss. And it starts on July 31st. So you want to register for free now at infopreneursummit.com so you can get the notices about all the speakers and stuff when it kicks off.
That's amazing. So is there going to be a couple every day that are released then?
Yeah. So there's between like 4 to 5 every single day around the hours of like 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1, 3, and 5 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay, and are most of the sessions like half an hour or hour?
Yeah, I would say that most of them are half an hour. Like a couple of them do stretch to an hour because I was just like on the interview with them and I'm like, you're dropping so much knowledge, like let's take it. But most of the interviews are about a half an hour. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I can't
Sounds
wait because
pretty
I
cool.
know you have some cool guests that I'm gonna be like, hell yeah, get my free on.
Oh, I know. And there's so like everybody is delivering like free stuff as well, like free courses and free worksheets and things. So like even if you don't stay for like every single whole interview, like click the links and go to the page and like claim their free stuff because it's awesome.
Yeah, and that's we didn't touch on that either, but that's another huge part of infopreneurship. At least it was for me, is seeing what other people do. Like I'm a huge stalker, and I stalk the shit out of people. I'm like I save up and hoard sheets, and then I'm like, ooh, when I get to like build mine, then I know it. And same thing. So it's a really good way this summit alone to see how people are doing their things and setting up.
Absolutely. It's going to give you a ton of ideas to like. Yeah. Copy from, not to plagiarize, but like to, you know, see what they're doing and make it your own, you know?
Yep, absolutely. I'm excited. We're recording in a couple of days.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
Thank you so much, Bailey. I told her, I'm like, hopefully you're not sick of me because there's a lot of Dre and Bailey going on this week.
Never. I love it. That's one of the best things about being an infopreneur is that like when you work in a 9-to-5, your coworkers or whoever, like people you would have never met if you didn't work at that company. But when you own your own business, like you get to curate the community of people that like you enjoy being around. And I love that.
I know. And then you get to keep like finding new ways to work with them. It's not like a kind of one and done like project thing. Because we've done a couple things now together and I'm already like thinking, I'm like, God, I love it's like you said, you find the ones you like and then I glom on. I'm like, sorry, I can't really this easy. All right, so thank you, girl. You're amazing, and I love what you're doing out there, teaching infopreneurs and how to do it right? Like not the MLM, the crappy stuff. So I love what you do, and I love how you do it. Infopreneursummit.com. Go sign up for it right now. I will be sharing it all over my real estate over the next week. But thanks again, and I will see you in the Badass Solopreneur Society. And we will be back, me and Lou,
next week.
And his Tan. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, as long as Blab keeps loving us.
Yes. Thanks, Bailey.
All right.
Thank
bye,
you.
Bailey.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.